So, wir haben eine neue Disziplin auf der C-Konferenz, Ad-Busting. Ad-Busting, viele von euch kennen es, vielleicht nicht alle, ist eine aktivistische Disziplin, wo es darum geht, die Mittel und teils auch die Medien der Werbung zu nutzen, um die Werbung zu kritisieren. Gibt schon sehr, sehr lange, unter anderem Occupy Wall Street ist eine Idee der Adbuster-Bewegung, in dem Fall in Amerika, wird aber weltweit agiert. Und wir haben heute hier einen der illustresten Vertreter dieser Szene. Der spanische Künstler Vermibus lebt und arbeitet derzeit in Berlin. Er hat lange selber als Art Director in der Werbeindustrie gearbeitet, bis er sich vor allem von dem Schönheitsideal der Werbeindustrie entfremdet hat und dann selbst das Mittel der Entfremdung angewandt hat, um das auch zu thematisieren. Was er tut, er entwendet Poster, häufig der Schönheitsindustrie, aus den Städten, aus den Bushaltestellen, nimmt die mit in sein Atelier, verarbeitet die, deutet die um und hängt sie wieder dort auf, wo sie hingehören, nämlich in die Stadt. Und seine Kunst er gehört zu den Adbustern, die es wirklich geschafft haben, auch als Künstler akzeptiert zu werden. Das ist natürlich eine Underground-Bewegung, eine aktivistische Bewegung, aber seine Arbeiten werden in Galerien und auf Festivals ausgestellt. Es gab eine Menge Medienberichte, weil das natürlich auch viel Diskussion aufwirft, aber nicht nur in der Kunstszene, sondern das stand im Spiegel, in der Le Monde, in der Financial Times, also nicht unbedingt die Foren, wo man solchen Ideen Raum gibt. Seine wichtigste Bühne bleibt die Straße. Heute sind wir froh, dass wir ihn heute hier auf der Bühne haben. Denn wie gesagt, sein Arbeitsfeld ist so ein bisschen auch im Graugebiet der Legalität. Das macht es natürlich auch ganz besonders spannend. Vermibus ist ein paar Tage früher nach Wiesbaden gekommen als die anderen Sprecher und hat hier gearbeitet. Und was er genau gemacht hat, das wird euch gleich auch zeigen. Bitte ein warmes Willkommen aus Spanien und Berlin, Vermibus.
Thank you very much. Whoops, starting good. So thank you all for coming. It's pretty impressive to see 800 people sitting here, waiting to hear what I have to say. Usually I'm always hiding my face. I'm not very comfortable showing my face, but we will try. So yeah, nowadays it's very difficult to imagine a world without advertising. We are, we are used to see advertising because advertising has this friendly face that, they show the campaigns, they pay services, they sponsor projects, they organize events like this one, and they make ideas happen. We are highly trained to consume products that they are first advertised, so we are very well trained to consume this, no? Like since very early ages. Advertising makes us dream with the lifestyle we want to achieve and with how our life will look like once we buy those products. Yeah, you make fun, but so the campaigns offer us a whole world of different options that we use to represent ourselves. They represent our personality. We use them to make a public representation of ourselves. Their statement ends up being our statement. And we end up literally loving brands. Now I'm Vermibus. I'm an artist, I'm an activist, and I'm very critical with advertising. But it was a time that I wasn't that critical. In fact, I was working, I cannot really see this thing, and it's a little bit bothering me. Sorry for that. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be an artist, but all my professors started to tell me the same magical words saying, find a real job that will pay your rent. You're going to be safe with that and forget about this idea of being an artist. Yeah, it's just, yeah. So trusting them, it's black, yeah, sorry. They have to focus on what I'm going to say. Yeah, we're starting good, huh? So trusting them, I basically changed my dream And I decided to work for an advertising agency as a photographer. So part of my work was making photos to different people in different events to promote certain brands. But also part of my work was deleting certain people, the people that was not fitting certain beauty standards. Because a good event is where the beautiful people go, and in the end what I was doing, or what we were doing, was advertising. So I had to delete people from the photos. So if you go to an event and you don't see your photo in the end of the event, then you know why it is. Just kidding, just kidding. So basically, 2 years after working for them, for like these 2 years, I got fired because I was not fitting the beauty standards. So this was shocking. It was a shocking event, and this event really changed my life. So I moved to Berlin to pursue my original idea, to be an artist. So my early works started to look like that. The strokes, as you can see, they were not under control. They were just, you know, like this. But they had something that it was coming from very deep inside me. So I knew that I could make this. I could develop it, and because it had the correct thing, it had the correct intention, that it was the important thing. So I started to develop this technique that consisted in only using solvents and brushes. It is a quite dangerous technique and pretty toxic. I'm not very happy using these products. But the good thing from this is that nobody is using it, so every time that I was going to the studio, I was discovering new things. So every single test was bringing me to a different place. Different brushes were creating different textures, and like the combination with papers and inks and different solvents were creating like a whole different aesthetics, no? So I started to develop my own tools. I started to cut brushes, to use tools that were not coming from like regular art places, from different professions. And everything was giving me more than what I was expecting. So this technique was, and still is, the best tool that I have to confront those beauty standards that the fashion industry and the advertising industry as well are trying to impose to us. I was convinced that I wanted to work against advertising, but most of my friends, most of my colleagues were asking me always the same question, that it was, what's wrong with advertising? So at the beginning for me, I have to be honest here, it was a revenge. I wanted, to confront advertising because they confronted me, and it was kind of a... But when I started to study more about how advertising works and reading about it, and I realized that there was many hidden risks that we are not really being conscious right now. So from invading our public space to dominating the public opinion, promoting conformity with this system that we are living in. So all those problems that you see here, they are not isolated problems. They actually work as a complex net when they are seen together. Brands own, in many cases, the opinion of the press, because if they are paying the services, if they are paying the printing, they are paying the people who work there, they kind of own the opinion of this press. I know this because in some interviews they had to, they made me the interview, they got my answers, but this interview couldn't be published because, in the end, I was too critical with advertising, and who pays the media is advertising. So they also invade the public space, the private space, the online space by an extreme domination. And we cannot, literally, we cannot avoid those messages. There's no way that we can do it. there is a massive and billionaire industry dedicated in making a psychological research, a sociological research, trying to find all about us. They actually know more about us than what we actually know. So advertising agencies like Facebook or Google, they know every single step we give, they know where we are, they know how long we stay in places, they know that we are here. They know that I'm here as well. They manipulate our behavior by creating apps that they are insanely addictive. There is even people who come from Las Vegas creating these gambling machines to create apps that they are more effective for them, and the only reason is to get more data about us and then sell it to advertising. This is pretty simple to understand, but sometimes it's difficult to see how big is the problem, and like sometimes it's like the trees doesn't let us see the forest. No? So this is not to create a channel so the people can really talk by themselves through different parts of the world. This is only to sell our information. So we all agree that consuming goods is necessary for a healthy economy, and I'm fine with that, obviously. But it's time to reflect on which ones are the costs of all this, of this consumption. So one of them is that we are creating an amount of waste that is like our environment can literally not deal with it. So advertising, what it's doing is hiding this problem by promoting more consumption. Advertising also produces inequality, insatisfaction, tracks our behavior, define our beauty standards. They maintain the heteropatriarchy, and they create an incredible visual noise that our animal brain can literally not deal with. So we try to avoid them. We try to look at different places when we walk in the street, or we try to skip this ad when we are in YouTube or whatever. But advertising is always finding this crack in our attention to make us submissive to their messages. They get into our email, into our social media, into our private space. They even get into our private conversations. Just saying. So they are so effective that we start protecting them. We justify their activity, and we care about them. We protect them as part of our friends or our family. They keep on spending money trying to convince us that they love us back. But we have to ask ourselves if they are really doing it. So having all this in mind, this is black, by the way. I'm not missing anything here. Having all that in mind, it was very obvious for me that my work was needing to be placed in the public space. So I hit the streets. Many times and in many different places. In 2013, I organized a project called Dissolving Europe. The project consisted in traveling all over Europe with an Interrail ticket, taking posters from one city, working in improvised studios, and placing them on the next city. The idea was to use different advertisings that they were not existing in those cities, and the people could, when they were facing my work, they could reflect on the work and not on the original advertising. So it was a way to avoid making them an advertising to them. Also, one of the things that I do is I remove the campaigns, so I mean the logo and all this. But anyway, so what I was finding always in this travel, it was the same beauty standards. I was always finding the same. But other thing that I was finding, it was the same reactions with the people. So I had the opportunity to see it many times that my works were having actually more attention than the original campaign. The people were taking photos, the media started to talk about it, and it was very quick, all this process. For me, it was kind of taking me like, wow, answering interviews and being like, is that important what I'm doing? But apparently, it was important. It was important not only what I was doing, but the conversation about it, the conversation about advertising. So seven years after I started to work on this, the media keeps on talking about my work, or keeps on talking about this topic. And this only shows us how important it is to have a straight talk about the risks of advertising. To add another component of my work, of this critique, I organized a project called No Ad. The project consisted in basically what you are seeing here, that is, was removing the advertising, but not placing anything back again. It was just leaving it white. So what I wanted is to create a visual space of rest for the citizen. So nothing that requires attention. It's just a place where they can rest. No? There's nothing asking you to buy or asking you to anything. So the project was very easy to do. It was very easy to reproduce. So secretly, I was hoping that the people would take this project and do it themselves. For me, it was very easy. I just simply organized the keys and just opening the, yeah. So opening the, yeah, thank you. So yeah, the keys. So basically, it's opening the lightbox, getting into, taking the poster, closing, easy. So I was secretly hoping that the people would actually take this project and make it their own. But this didn't happen. Took me a while to understand why this didn't happen. And took me actually 2 years. Now you're going to see how easy it is, no? But it was just because I was an artist, and I was doing an artistic project. So the project had a creator and had an owner. So nobody wants to steal the work from another artist, so nobody did it. So 2 years after, I decided to take this project and open it to the public. So I made an open call, and I explained to the people who wanted to find the keys and open those light boxes. And yeah, in the first year, we could actually end up doing this. If this is working. Oh, shit. Okay. I'm gonna need some help here. Shit. Sorry, I'm talking terrible when I'm nervous. Here. Yes. Okay. Thank you. It was for him.
A normal person living in a big city sees around 3,000 ads a day on average. Most of them within a public space. All that advertising influences and modifies our decisions with one purpose: consuming. In 2012, the No Ad project was started. It was a project which aimed to free the billboards in order to reduce its impact on the citizens of Berlin, thus transforming a commercial space into a visual place of rest. Nomad project was a project of civil disobedience, easy to reappropriate and modify due to its extreme simplicity, leaving any advertising space blank without adding any message. Artists, activists, and people aware of a public and democratic space set date to the current NOAD Day. A tutorial explaining to people how to make their own key to open the advertising billboards in a simple and cheap way was published. As part of the project, keys were sent out with a collaboration of Jordan Seiler and his project, Public Access. The outcome was more successful than expected. 63 people in more than 20 cities all over the world freed more than 300 advertising impacts. All interventions were carried out in a peaceful, self-organized way without involving material damages or acts of vandalism. These were done a day before the Black Friday and the Buy Nothing Day. 300 ads were removed in one day, and this is just 10% of what the daily average person sees in one day. With your subscription and participation with NOAD Day, we can achieve much more.
Thank you. It's funny to see many advertisers clapping and saying, well. So after that video, many people joined this project, and the project was not mine anymore. It was from everyone. And the good thing is that last year we could make 1,500 plus. A little bit more than 1,500 interventions, remember, all during the same day, all in different cities, all by people organizing themselves. And the project kept on growing, kept on changing also. I mean, even though we keep on doing the NOAD Day during the last Saturday of November, the people started to modify this project and they make it their own. So right now, there's people doing NOADs during every day of the year. So that's a good thing. The project kept on growing. Last year, an independent media edited a short video in 3 different languages, and we hit more than 1 million views in less than a week, which only reflects how important this conversation is needed. The commentaries, those are some, were showing us the 2 different opinions. Those ones that they were protecting advertising, being very involved with them, like in an emotional way, and those ones that they were completely tired of advertising interrupting their lives. In the end, I mean, it's logical that the people tend to protect advertising because we've been growing with advertising. I mean, it has been over there forever, right? I mean, actually, it's not like this, but for us, it is. So my most challenging project till now was unveiling beauty. where I've been following the fashion week during the whole month of its celebration. Remember, it's a month where people from all over the world, fashion lovers, they meet and they celebrate probably one of the most banal events in our society. Sorry for the fashion lovers. As you can see, I'm not a fashion lover. I just dress in black and that's it. So they tend to use the brands that they love, and they start walking like living advertisings. So for me, it was the perfect moment to put my work in the streets. And after the whole month traveling to the most iconic fashion capitals in the world, New York, London, Milan, and Paris, the result was this one. If it plays by its own or not. Oh gosh, attention. Right, good. Sorry. Thank you. So at the same time that I know I have 1 minute, I missed the 10. I was thinking it was the punctuation of the of the speech. So at the same time that the advertising movement or this anti-advertising movement started to get more and more people through NOAD Day and also through other projects, I started to spend more and more time in the studio, way more time in the studio than in the street. I was investigating about my technique. I was investigating about my chromatic palette, about experimenting with textures, and developing my personal stroke. I realized that my works were not only a critique about advertising or a critique about fashion. They were also a reflection on the tensions that the human being has naturally in his existence. Something that any brand, regardless all the psychological research, will ever reflect in their campaigns. Unlike brands, I'm not looking for the love of the viewer. I'm looking for its reflection. That's the most important thing. And even though I got more love and comprehension back than what I ever expected. And I hope I get yours today as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Are there already questions? Gibt es schon Fragen aus dem Saal? Hier sehe ich Hände. Ich sehe eine Menge Hände. Ups, das wird.
I'm fearing you.
Ja.
Thank you for the talk. Pretty cool idea. Hi, over here. Yeah, the No Ad Day is a pretty cool idea. What I just thought, I was wondering, in what way do you see what you're doing yourself as a kind of advertisement, or like a guerrilla advertisement? Because in the last video I saw you have your little Vermibus logo.
Yeah.
So how do you see yourself as a brand, or asking
Actually,
for our love?
Thank you for your question. I got a friend of mine that is also an activist telling me, hey, Vermibus, seriously, why did you put the V? And I was like, well, I don't know, I just put it there, that's it. So actually I stopped doing it because this is something that fails in the critique that I'm doing, basically. So yeah, sometimes when you are in public making things, you make mistakes and they are also public. So yeah, this was one mistake. And I don't think I'm doing an advertising per se. I think I'm moving an idea that is, I believe that is needed. And actually this could bring me here and create this conversation. So I'm happy that there's people confronting me with this, because in the end there is the reflection there. So that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I found.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Welcome.
So, wir müssen es wirklich ein bisschen beschränken, aber es gibt morgen noch mal eine Gelegenheit, mit Vermibus in Kontakt zu treten. Vielleicht noch eine Frage. Hier haben wir eine.
Did your activities change your buying habits, your consuming habits?
Yes, a lot. Actually, when I went to Berlin, I was, I still had this idea in mind, what I was promoting, no? Like this super crazy consumption. And I arrived to a city where the people prefer to have time than things, you know? So I'm not sure if it was my work or was the city, or both at the same time. But yeah, it changed a lot my buying habits, yeah.
Thank you. Vielleicht noch eine letzte Frage hier vorne. Tut mir leid für alle anderen, ich sehe eine Menge Hände, aber wie gesagt, gibt noch eine Gelegenheit. Morgen, genau.
You can make me more questions later if you want, if you think you are more nervous than me.
Yeah,
yeah, thank you. With all my respect to your project, but at some point I considered your project as an advertising itself for your project.
Yeah.
How did you announce for the project? Because we are usually we are accustomed of the model of the brands, So sometimes I felt the brand behind your project, behind the advertisement. I even knew the brand by your project, because we may be accustomed for seeing this kind of models wearing that brand. So how did you announce for your project, for example? Is it some kind of advertising?
Sure, I put Google ads everywhere. No, of course not. I mean, I thought I answered the question. Sorry to be rude. I don't want to. No, I mean the open call. I'm not sure if you're asking about this, about the NOAD Day. How I announced the NOAD Day.
Yes.
To people, just like writing. Hey, how are you? Do you want to participate with this?
Do you consider this as an advertisement for your project?
No.
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 Okay.
Okay.
I mean, actually, I'm not winning nothing with the NOAD Day. I'm actually wasting time, wasting money, wasting resources.
It's not mainly a question, but it's a kind of comment, because I felt at some point that it is advertising itself for the project, for the brand itself.
The problem with this is that if you check what I was explaining about the risks of advertising, I'm promoting just the opposite. So. Of course, it's a conversation when you are talking. I mean, right now I'm talking to you, so I'm advertising you a certain thing. But there is a difference between a conversation and about advertising. I mean, I'm not getting your data from your phone and saying, oh, wait, you've been giving 2,000 steps today through this area, you like to buy these things, and by the way, I'm going to put you this advertising here so you buy my product, you know? It's a completely different story.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Das ist eine sehr, sehr spannende Diskussion. Als ich vorhin meinte, Adbusting ist eine neue Disziplin. Es wird bestimmt nicht das letzte Mal sein, dass wir das hier auf der CE machen. Wir hoffen nächstes Jahr einen Vertreter vom Adbuster Magazine aus den Staaten hier zu haben. Wie gesagt, das ist ein Netzwerk, das ist keine Firma. Ich beziehe das Magazin monatlich und kriege von denen auch Newsletter, in denen sie das nächste Magazin bewerben. Also es ist nicht so, dass diese Szene werbebefreit ist. Es ist halt die Frage, für was man Werbung macht und welche Haltung. Aber das ist das Spannende. Also jeder, der sich dafür interessiert, Adbusting, Adbuster, es gibt unglaublich viel Material im Netz. Wen das irritiert hat, das war Sinn der Übung. It should be irritating, what we do here today. So we did a great job. And nobody of you asked the question if he was ever captured by the police. And we like that. We like, because you said that's probably the first question and it wasn't.
I always get two questions. Did you get busted? How you make the keys? Nobody asked me. So
now,
I understand that you're going to participate in the NOAD Day.
So if you have more questions, as I said before, Vermibus was a few days earlier here. He created a piece specifically for Wiesbaden. And tomorrow at 12 o'clock, at the campus at Joseph Volkmar, you will have a talk. You will show your studio. We built a small temporary studio for you where you can work.
I love it.
So you get an idea how he works, and you get also a glimpse on the keys, which is quite interesting. And there's a smaller, it's a smaller format, so to ask questions and go to discussions. That's starting tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And there will also be an event we can announce now that the piece that you created here in Wiesbaden will be handed over officially to the Landesmuseum Wiesbaden, who will take it into their collection. So this is really cool. So the director of the museum, Alexander Klar, he will be present tomorrow and we'll do this. But everybody who wants to ask more questions, please use the next break. Come to Joseph Volkmar tomorrow. And a big hand for Vermibus.
Thank you.